let me take a time to say a special good morning to our listeners. A special good morning also to our viewers of Classic Radio and the viewers of GBN TV. Good morning. How's everybody doing? It's a lovely, lovely, lovely Tuesday morning in the Spice Isle. Yeah, it's the 14th day of April. Good morning to those of you who are celebrating a birthday today. Good morning to you and happy birthday to you. Those of you celebrating life, God's world. Good morning to you also. Hope you're doing A-OK. What about those of you who are listening and viewing via social media, of course, platforms? Good morning to you. Hope you're having an A-OK day thus far. It's Opposition Tuesday on today's edition of To The Point, and representing this morning, we have Senator Norland Cox with us. He's over there in the Sister Isle of Carriacou. Guess he probably had a great weekend with the Maroon Festival and everything that took place the other day. Senator Cox, good morning. How are you this morning, sir?
Pleasant morning, GT, and Mr. Pleasant morning to your viewers, your listeners of On To The Point program. It's a pleasure to be here as usual.
And it's always a pleasure also to have you, sir. How was everything doing this morning? How's everything doing?
Pretty good. It's pretty good. A little bit overcast, but pretty good.
We know we recently had the Maroon Festival over the weekend. How was that? How was that? We were getting in depth in it, but how was it in general?
Let me correct you. Our Maroon Festival is scheduled for last weekend in April. What we had over the weekend, though? Friday was a Village Maroon.
Okay,
so
Village Maroon. My bad on that.
Village Maroons that took place. Yeah.
My bad on that.
Yeah,
probably I'm over preempting the activities that it's having, but it was a village. Yes, I think I got that right now. Thanks for the correction. Thanks for the correction. Thanks for the correction there. Let's get into a bit of our conversation this morning. Sure. A few weeks ago in our discussion, I was still calling you Senator Norland Cox. Now you, of course, has put yourself forward, for the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Talk to me. What's that core message am I to be expecting from you? And now being the candidate that will be representing the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. What are you hearing? Talk to me, sir.
Well, I think, GT, we have seen a progressive move in terms of what the party is doing, what I am doing as a person who has expressed interest to represent Carriacou and Petit Martinique. And so from 2022, we move from what we call a caretaker and now a candidate. And of course, there are things that persons would want to know of a candidate, whether or not they want to give that person the support. And in my case, my core message for this campaign would not be a list of promises that I intend to make, but it's more about a fundamental flaw, I believe, where governance is concerned and the absence of the voices of persons in the decision-making process. So for me, my core message, based on who I am, what I represent, would be about representation, better representation for Carriacou and Petit Martinique. That's what my core message would be centered around. One may ask what better representation, what does that mean? And it means a number of things. And for example, we normally have our budget cycle where we plan for our constituency. It would basically mean persons' community concerns will be directly reflected in budget, and of course, that will be represented in projects. It would mean, as it is now, better representation would mean the whole issue of being fairness in terms of in crisis and disasters, as we have been experiencing, with better fairness in how we dispense goods and services to persons. That is what better representation would mean. And better representation would not have Petit Martinique as a footnote, of course. It would be frontal in terms of what we have to do, when we do it, and how we do it. I think that is what better representation would indicate, not a series of wastages, poor implementations, poor decisions. Better representation would not reflect that. It would be the opposite of what we are seeing going on now. So I just want to underscore that. But okay, that is what my message would be about, better representation.
Let me also ask you this. What do you feel has been your biggest contribution to the constituency through your work and engagement so far?
Well, if we're speaking about post-2022 elections, I think really and truly, although there are a number of things that I've been involved in, I think I would want to underscore my most fulfilling contribution would be actually going out and helping persons physically build back their homes, build back their families, build back their businesses. GT, although tiring, when I come home at night, that is my most fulfilling participation and engagement that I've had with the community. And still, there is so much more work to be done in terms of helping people getting themselves back to some degree of comfort in their household. I think for me, despite everything else that we have done as a party, actually going and working side by side with persons, putting up board for board, brick for brick, zinc sheet after zinc sheet, I think that for me has been the most fulfilling, helping persons to build back some semblance of normalcy in their life. I think that for me, that is what sticks with me throughout.
You have spoke about, of course, you the person, and in terms of what folks your core message. You have just spoke about your biggest contribution. Let's focus a wee bit on contribution to the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique thus far. Being with the current representative of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, you being in the opposition, who have put yourself up to represent also. What is it more that you think could be done for the folks of Carriacou and Petit Martinique? As you being now on the outdoor and you're looking in and you say, hey, this could have been done that a particular way. What do you think more could be done for the folks of Carriacou and Petit Martinique?
Well, there are a number of issues, and I must be clear and straightforward in terms of that. Yes, successful governments have done things, have met some of those needs for persons, but when you are governing, while you may have persons who support you politically in a direct way, you have to govern for everybody. You're supposed to govern for everybody. And for Carriacou and Petit Martinique, it is a consistent practice, a consistent characteristic of this government by excluding people based on political preferences. And there is no way, GT, I would ever want to oversee or represent this constituency where persons are fearful of doing certain things or saying certain things, fearful that services will be taken away from them or services will be withheld from them because of their opinion on how they feel. I think that for me is a no-no, and that is something that is very disheartening, and that is one of the things that has continued to prevail, and it should stop.
Okay. Housing is a real concern for many families in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. What is your plans to address that in your, of course, for some reason you were given that particular mandate? How would you be able to address that, sir?
Well, it's a very important task, and it's a much needed and important issue that is facing Carriacouans, and the challenge that is what is taking place is the lack of proper planning, the lack of proper coordination. Even after the government recently indicated that they have reviewed and they're restarting in terms of the disbursement, the same inadequacies continue. One person would go to a particular individual, a particular office, request material. They will say to them, we don't have any material, or you are received, you can't get any more. They in turn will go to a next individual, a next office, and get approved. Some persons may get approved, get the material, and a particular office that is responsible for the material doesn't know that the material is dispensed. So it is clear that there's a breakdown in structure, there's a breakdown in management. And one of the things, the only how you can manage a proper recovery, you have to have proper structure. And it is clear that they have tried on several occasions, but it is lacking. And one of the things is that if your intent for helping or building back somebody's house is purely political, because you expect them to vote for you because you help them get back a house, then the purpose of why you are doing this, you are defeating that purpose. Because persons' homes are damaged. Persons are not thinking about voting. Persons are thinking about securing a place for the kids, securing a place for their loved ones, for their parents and grandparents. They need to have a proper, comfortable place for them to live. That is a basic right. And so that is separate and apart from personal political preference. And when you're in charge, You have to govern for everybody. And you cannot punish people because you feel, or they might say something about you that you don't like. This is life. People are going to say things about you that you don't agree with. And that is not a reason for you to exercise your power on them or to take advantage of them. And that is something that we're not going to do. We're not going to do that at all. I mean, I've never been that kind of person, JD, and people know me. People know me my entire life in Carriacou here. I've never been that kind of person. I work as a public servant. I serve every single person, irrespective of the political preference. And even to this day, I continue, even to this moment, I continue to help persons irrespective of their political preference once they are in need. And that is who I represent and what I represent.
Okay.
And that is the kind of representation that will be handled.
All right. Now, tell me, are there specific communities, of course, in the constituency where housing development is most urgent? And how would have prioritized that, being the way the situation is right now?
Well, in terms of specific communities, I think that in every community, there are housing needs in every single community right now. And probably in some, there's more needs in some than others. But every single community throughout Carriacou, including Pitamatic, is in dire need of housing support. Irrespective of the work that government has done, irrespective of the tons of monies that was spent, and we still can't see some of the results from those monies. Irrespective of those efforts, there are still a number of persons living in difficult and unacceptable conditions. And we're checking the time that we are going. Now, and that is where I say, if you have a proper structure, if you take proper data, if you collect proper information, you have proper criteria. What is the criteria? What is the criteria that the government use for building a house for somebody who has never owned a house, never had a house before, probably never have no intention of building a house right away? What is the criteria that you use for taking the resources and building a house for that person, as against somebody who had a home, had a family in a home? That home is destroyed and now displaced. What is the criteria that you choose that person over that person? What is the criteria? And so, what is the criteria that you choose for building a house for persons who never had a house? And you have residents, senior citizens on mainland Grenada, in homes, waiting for their homes to be rebuilt. What is the criteria? So everybody is confused, and in the sense of why are we going down that road when there are persons in dire need, in true need of support? There are persons are fully aware that they cannot get help. Everybody cannot get help at the same time, But when you see that somebody who has never been affected by the hurricane get help, get a house, get a home, in some cases fully furnished, and you had a home that was fully furnished, and you're not, there is no even indication on the horizon that you're going to get some support, how you expect people to feel, GT? And so that is the issue. That continues to remain the core issue. I don't know what is the criteria. So that is a no-no. If you have clear criteria, if you have clear criteria, clear structure, the recovery and the implementation is going to go in an orderly fashion, in a fashion that everybody knows that the reason why this person is getting, the reason why that group is getting, and the reason why that group is getting before, and what level of help each person gets. So that is how it's supposed to be. And that is how it should be. But that is not the case.
Okay.
Yeah?
Let me ask you this. We know after the devastation of Hurricane Beryl, how pleased are you? Are you willing to give a thumbs up? I see a little smile on your face. Are you willing to give a little thumbs up in terms of the level of the recovery at the stage that it's at right now? Are you happy with it? Are you think that more could have been done? Being with the size of the Sister Isles of Carriacou and P.T. Martin, do you think after that more could have been done in terms of the overall recovery of Carriacou as it stands right now?
And clearly, without a shadow of a doubt, GT, yes, more can and should have been done. I'll tell you why. 14 days after this disaster, you receive a check of $118 million plus additional support. We're talking about that is cash outside of other support that we receive from other countries. And to date, I think, based from the last parliamentary debate that we had, I think sometime for the budget debate, it was reported that over $40 million was spent in Carriacou. $40 million. And you can go around and ask citizens, ask persons, if they are satisfied with the recovery efforts based on the amount of resources that was made available and what the results are on the ground. And they would not agree that the recovery efforts was satisfactory. It is not. It is way below par. For the amount of monies that have been pumped or that have been made available, that have been spent, wasted, or stolen, either way, it is not acceptable. Clearly, without a shadow of a doubt.
We drew for a break, Senator Cox, so let's take that break. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, Grenada. We will be right back after the short break. Don't touch your dial.
Communal Credit Union Invitational Game is coming to the Kirani James Athletic Stadium April 25th and 26th. Watch the intense rivalry as the GUT Primary School goes head-to-head with Huggins Private School in a battle for speed, pride, and bragging rights. This is not just about style, it's about the fastest time. It's about power on the track. It's about glory, honor, and fame. Who will ride? Who will dominate? Who will take home the golden stake of the CLCCU Invitational Games? Don't miss the action. April 25th and 26th at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Classic Lighting Communal Credit Union Invitational Game, where champions are made.
Grenada, we are back. Our senior women's national team returns to the pitch for a massive CONCACAF W qualifier, and they need your power behind them. Tuesday, April 14th, Kirani James Athletics Stadium, Grenada versus Cayman Islands. Kickoff 5 p.m. This is national pride. This is passion. This is the road to glory. Tickets, adults just at $25, children $10, and kids under 12 get in free. Get your tickets now at gotofet.com or at these outlets: Chucky's Bar, Grenadian Optical, St. George's, and Spiceland Mall. GFA office. Bring your flags, bring your voice, and come support our Grenada women's national team as they battle for victory. Follow the journey on social media at Grenada Football Association. Grenada versus Cayman Islands, April 14th, 5 p.m. Be there and stand with Team Grenada.
Grenada, the fire's about to be lit. Get ready for the ultimate grilling showdown. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026 is coming your way. Saturday, May the 30th at the Monrouge Plain Field. The search is on for the island's top grill masters. Do you have what it takes? Bring your flavor and compete in the chicken category, the seafood category, and the bold, most creative grill category, where daring ideas take the crown. And this year, the heat isn't just for adults. Introducing the Junior Grillers category. Schools and youth groups. If you are under 18, this is your time to shine. So fire up those coals, sharpen those grilling skills, and get ready to battle for grilling glory. Registration is now open. Call or WhatsApp 405-8458 to secure your spot. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026. Saturday, May the 30th, Monrouge Plain Field. Come for food, stay for the vibes, and witness who will be crowned King of the Grill. Brought to you by Maggie, enhancing the natural flavor of your food.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers. It's to the point here on Classic Radio and GBN TV. For today, it's Tuesday, the 14th day of April. Welcome back to Senator Cox with us this morning from the Sister Isle of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Senator Cox, good morning once again, and welcome back.
Thank you.
I want to tap in on the dry season that of course has been faced by the folks of the Sister Isle of Carriacou and Petit Martinique right now. We know the dry season usually hits hard in Carriacou. Now, what steps do you believe needs to be taken to address the water shortage situation? And what long-term solution do you think is, of course, you are proposing to get that rectified?
Well, I think it's important to put into context where we are in terms of the dry season and why after 2024, after Hurricane Beryl, that the dry season has become more unique for Carriacou because of how we harvest water, because we harvest rainwater. Rainwater harvesting is our core and main source of collecting water for potable and other uses. And so because of the impact of the hurricane, we have a significant number of roofs that were removed while a lot has been replaced. But if you go around, a lot of roofs have been replaced, but no guttering have been installed as yet. In some cases, persons who have the plastic tanks, the water tanks, those replaceable tanks and movable tanks, they do not have that same level of storage pre-burial. So it's a combination of factors. And so it's not just the dry season, but also the whole issue of the infrastructure in terms of what is there, what was there before hurricane and what is there after the hurricane to receive and to collect water for domestic and other uses. So that is where the real challenge is. And that must be taken into account. And hence the reason why the recovery should have been done, should have been planned in the context of all those things. Why it's important to do it in such a structured way to ensure that it minimizes the impact of the dry season and, of course, enhance persons' resilience to collect and to store water. Now you have work currently ongoing in terms of expanding the pipe-borne water through now. So that is commendable. That is something that has been started years ago, and it's part of an expansion, continuous expansion process. And so in terms of long-term, that is how we can resolve, that is one of the ways in which we can resolve and minimize the impact of the whole issue of water shortage in Carriacou and Pedimatlic by, one, enhancing our rainwater harvesting capacity and complementing that with desalination plant to supplement whatever we do. Because, plants, they are mechanical. In some cases, you would have breakdowns, you would have challenges. So you want to ensure that there is a combination of both storage and, of course, access to pipe-borne water. And so it's a number of things. I think we should have a reliable and a continuous water education program ongoing so that persons, especially young persons who don't understand, who never went through the challenge or the experience of carrying water, jogging water from the system, or jogging water from the pond or from the well, to understand how important it is for us to use water properly based on our situation in Carriacou. So those education and promotional initiatives should be constant and be run, I believe, on a weekly or daily basis for Carriacou. That is one of the things that I really want to see. And you don't necessarily have to wait for a government change to do that. Those are things that can happen easily and right away. So I would want to see something like that. Right. Definitely in terms of housing, once persons are building, you'll make some requirement, at least a basic requirement for persons to have a minimum at least 10,000 gallons of water storage at the home. And so that can help in terms of easing the impact of the demand for water whenever your water supply or your main water supply is down or out for whatever reason, either for upgrades or for maintenance or for anything else. So is a combination of factors that you would want to see. Of course. And obviously, as person build back, you want them to build back more resilient so that homes can withstand for the hurricanes coming forward in the future.
With residents having to cope with this serious water stress, per se, around this particular time, Who would you hold a wee bit accountable for it? Would you say that it's left up to government to have this problem fixed? Or would you say the residents of Carriacou and Petit Martinique should also play a main part in terms of having that particular issue taken care of? Who would you hold more accountable for that? Is it residents should be able to take care of that for themselves? Or is it that government should be a little bit more accountable in having that particular problem fixed in terms of, that serious water issue that's been plaguing Carriacou? It's not a new thing, per se, but of course, after the devastation of Hurricane Beryl, it has gotten even worse. What would you hold accountable for that, sir?
Well, I think everybody have their role to play. Of course, if persons are misusing water at the home level, you don't expect to hold government responsible for persons not managing their water storage. So obviously, the homeowners have their role to play in terms of using water effectively and efficiently and managing whatever water that they have. But government have a greater responsibility in terms of supplying, creating the environment for water to be made accessible for everyone. And so it's within that context that government have that responsibility to do that. And you want government to be responsive to come up with initiatives that are meaningful, that are impactful, and to preempt. Let me just give you an example. I think where government has failed is not being proactive, but being reactive. And I've been looking at this since 2022, and it brings me back to my tenure at the Princess Royal Hospital when I used to manage the hospital. Now, there are some initiatives that you have to be proactive. You cannot be reactive. So you know that you have dry season coming. You know that water levels are going to be low. You put measures in place beforehand, and you have certain triggers that you have some critical levels where you have certain things to kick in. When that happens, that's how it's supposed to be done. And so I don't understand why every dry season you have to wait until water run out in the hospital before you have to be responding, trying to get a barge up or bring some water from Grenada. It ought not to be that way. You're supposed to be proactive and not reactive. And what we've been seeing is reactiveness, and it has not been sustainable because it's not properly planned, because it's just reactive. So, like for example, when we were at the hospital, we sent some critical levels. If the water in the tank get to a certain level, we don't wait until the water finish before you replenish. You understand? You have some critical levels. And so there's some minimum standards which you're supposed to operate by. And so in the case with Carriacou, because it is something that is known that you're going to have impacts from reduced rainfall, why wait until there is no water and then people are scrambling? People are forced to use water that is not properly clean or suitable for drinking, and then you have young kids coming up with gastroenteritis and then at the clinic or the hospital. We need to be proactive, and so that is the challenge that I have, and that is what has been happening. It's just been too reactive and not proactive.
Let's talk about some of the specific infrastructure gaps that is within the various constituencies in Carriacou and Petit Martinique that you feel has been neglected and needs some immediate attention from your personal perspective. What do you feel in reference to that? Those infrastructure gaps that needs that somehow you think that has been neglected for too long and need that immediate attention, sir?
When it comes to infrastructure, there are a number of initiatives, a number of projects that one would want to see. Different communities have different needs, different desires. And so it's not so much about a specific project, but I think it's more, the gap is more about the process of how infrastructure is handled. Like, for example, one of the largest projects that the road project that the government would have started in 2023 and still ongoing and not completed as yet is the Bel Air Road. And the reason for that is because the structure that was used, the policy approach, the implementation approach that was used was to pay workers DP to do those work, and government supply the material. That has led to significant cost overruns, costs that in some cases cannot be properly quantified, significant wastage, challenges with work quality, and because of different contractors on the site, poor oversight and management. And so, and to this day, the project is still incomplete. So that in itself is, for me, that is a bad policy. I think if you have a proper contract structure in place, you have one or two contractors, but under contract, properly supervised, and you implement, that road should have already been completed. So that is one. The second issue for me is the whole issue of the procurement process. I think that is a major issue, not here in Carrick alone, but generally throughout the state, where successive governments, even in the National Party government, have been accused of doing that. But I could speak clearly of my tenure and supervision of infrastructure. That was a critical issue in terms of ensuring that you keep that process in place, the procurement process, to avoid issues. And I'll speak more in depth about that, GT, because you cannot just hand out a project to somebody without following those project cycles, those critical steps before you get to a project rollout, because you are going to have challenges. And we have seen it. We have heard the Prime Minister himself, the Minister for Infrastructure, complaining nationally that some contractors have not met certain requirements. But the question is, were those jobs properly allocated? Did those persons went through the procurement process? It doesn't mean that the contractor can't do work, but it means probably sometimes the size of the project or the type of project that you selected for that contractor is probably out of their scope. And so if you believe that because somebody's supposed to just take a project and give them, everything is going to be all good and well, you're in for a lot of trouble. And so the removal of the procurement process is one that spells problems, wastage, and of course, a lot of incomplete projects and projects that are going to have challenges in terms of quality. That is what is happening. But we see it here, like for example, the Windward Jetty. We just hear that a company was awarded Windward Jetty. I know for a fact, for certain, and I challenge, and I stand corrected, and I challenge to show bid documents, show publicly where the jetty was advertised, whether it's sole source or whatever the case may be. Show those documents. What is the cost? Show whatever cost was agreed upon for that contract. Present it. I challenge them. Yeah, it was just handed, and now you're having challenges where the jetty is basically seemed to be rebuilt the same length that it was originally, and you have a number of boatmen complaining that, look, that doesn't make any sense. If initially, when the jetty was there, fishing boats could not come alongside to get ice, if you believe back same length, how are they going to come now? The jetty is supposed to be longer. So you have boatmen calling me, asking me, Cox, speak up on this because we want the government to lengthen the jetty to ensure that the fishing boats can come alongside comfortably to pick up ice and to do other things, or other trade boats for trade can do so. And so it's a slew of things where once you remove the procurement process, GT, you're going to set yourself up for a number of problems and challenges. If you notice, some of the projects that are funded by international organizations, the government have to follow. They have to follow it because funding would not be disbursed unless those steps are followed. So why aren't we doing it for our local projects? Why aren't we doing it? So that is my challenge.
If I had to ask you the question, Senator Cox, we know that you are in opposition, and there's always the opposition option to oppose. But would you say there's anything of a positive nature, of a good, in terms of things by this current administration has done in Carrick that you feel humble enough to speak about?
Of course, I've spoken on a couple of things. I did mention the fish center in Windward. That's a good initiative. Rebuilding the fish market, I did that. The whole idea of rebuilding the jetty, we had basically been asking for the rebuilding of the jetty. So the issue is not the rebuilding of the jetty. The issue is what is being done. Yeah. So that is clearly, so that is what I am saying. So I'm not opposing the jetty, and I just want to be clear.
I was not speaking in specific to the jetty. I was talking in the overall accomplishments.
So the Free Center, of course, the Free Center is a very good initiative. I mean, rebuilding the Bel Air Road is, of course, is good. But the issue of the process, how it is done, and the impact that it is having on the country, on government, you understand, in terms of waste and management, because it's not just about that. Because you remember, everything impacts the other. And it is going to be a challenge for this country in terms of governance. And if you notice now, GT, a number of contractors are complaining about not receiving payments for services done. So as much as the government may say that they don't have a cash flow problem, but it is clear that they have not been able to pay and meet their commitments as it is done normally. It is clear. The evidence is there.
All right. So the Cox, we do for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. To the Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We will be right back after the break. Don't touch it dial.
Right Choice Promotion presents Lyrics and Laughter, the ultimate pre-Mother's Day show. It's coming to the Grenada Trade Center on Sunday, May the 3rd from 5 p.m. Get ready for an evening of non-stop comedy, sweet Caribbean vibes, and pure entertainment. From Trinidad and Tobago, the funniest man in the region, Errol Fabian.
She said not even my shoes, I said no.
Humorous Calypsonians, Trinidad Rio.
Going back to basics.
And the Calypso princess herself, Kareen Ashton from the Spice Isles. 2 decades of legend, Randy Isaac, Little Reds, plus local comedy king, Robert White, Dillian Walters, Fat Man George, and Kareem Alexis. Delivering lyrical mastery, 11-time Calypso Monarch scholar. All backed by the Heatwave Band, with special musical treats from Lyndon Langdon on sax and Jaleli Moses on violin. It's lyrics, it's laughter, it's music, it's vibes. Tickets just $75. Available now at gotofed.com and other outlets island-wide. Treat mom, treat your partner, treat yourself. Lyrics and laughter. Sunday, May the 3rd, 5 p.m. Grenada Trade Center. Don't miss it.
When the day's done, there's only one place to be. Jump it up. April 25th and 26th, the Kirani James Athletic Stadium comes alive. It's the Classic Lighting Communal Credit Union Invitational Games, the final showdown. Come witness all clubs battle for glory one last time. Gather your posse, take your stand, and jump up for Bankers Association, Hubbards, DG-Cell, Huggins, Grenlec, Nawasa, Prisons, Police, Busmen, and Flow. This is rivalry. This is passion. This is Grenada on fire. April 25th and 26th. Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Don't miss it.
Grenada, we are back. Our senior women's national team returns to the pitch for a massive CONCACAF W qualifier, and they need your power behind them. Tuesday, April 14th, Kirani James Athletics Stadium, Grenada versus Cayman Islands. Kickoff 5 p.m. This is national pride. This is passion. This is the road to glory. Tickets, adults just at $25, children $10, and kids under 12 get in free. Get your tickets now at gotofed.com or at these outlets: Chucky's Bar, Grenadian Optical, St. George's, and Spiceland Mall. GFA office. Bring your flags, bring your voice, and come support our Grenada women's national team as they battle for victory. Follow the journey on social media at Grenada Football Association. Grenada versus Cayman Islands, April 14th, 5 p.m. Be there and stand with Team Grenada.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, once again. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. Good morning to those of you by our social media platforms. Good morning to you also. And certainly we are happy to have you with us this morning. Senator Cox, welcome back once again. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
You know, sometimes I scroll through social media and I see various, programs and community partnerships that I see that you've been involved in, sir, recently. Talk to me about that. And how has the response been, particularly on the ground in reference to those initiatives that you've been partaking in, sir?
Yeah, GT, I mean, I really, really pleased to be involved in that, to be given an opportunity to partner with institutions, individuals, to create opportunities for Carriacouans, Pitimanicans, Grenadians, because it's open to everybody. We had a job fair for persons who are desirous of working in the maritime sector, cruise shipping in particular. And at the same time, we also we're providing support, scholarship support for persons who also looking to build a career there in terms of studies. So we have a bachelor in marine engineering and a bachelor's offering a bachelor's in marine science. That will make you into a master, a chief, a captain. So those are two critical areas based on our area constituent, and the Carriacou is a heavily maritime community, Pitimatnik in particular. And so I'm just really excited and pleased to be able to offer this during this time, you know. And GT, you know that you say that the question you asked previously, that oftentimes we, while in opposition, we are just seen as opposing and not offering any solutions or providing anything to help, you know. And so this clearly is definitely not the case. Where I am concerned and how I have been and continue to operate in this constituency. I've always stand out in terms of leading, helping wherever I can. Recently, we just partnered with some persons within our community to start a water support initiative for communities that are struggling with water by placing water tanks and getting trucks and even water from persons' home to put in those tanks. And so it's a wonderful initiative, and being able to go out there and to give that support to the community, as little as it is. I think it's something that I am very proud of and would do at any point in time. And so those are some key initiatives that we have. No, we have some more coming. We have some more that I want to roll out. But as you know, with limited resources, there's only so much that I can do. But I'm really pleased to know that we're providing opportunities for persons and also the scholarship opportunities. I mean, the response have been very good. We're trying to push it as well to make sure much persons as possible take a full advantage of the scholarship initiative. And of course, being able to access those job opportunities as well. So it's a work in progress. We are also trying to, this week, we're moving those water tanks into other communities where there are needs for water as well, to support those demands. And so it's a work in progress, GT. So we are very excited about that. I am very happy and pleased, and this is one of the most fulfilling initiatives in recent with our recent activities that have been taking place. This one has been very dear to me, and I'm happy because I have said it over and over, GT. I mean, persons who have listened to me consistently, I have been consistent in my belief and philosophy that education is the universal key to eradicate poverty. And that is my mantra, and I will push education opportunities in every aspect as much as possible, where I can, to support persons, the opportunity to develop, to grow, and to be able to create an economic space for themselves and their families. So those are the things that I'm really passionate about, and hence the reason why I am doing this, and much more I would love to do when given that opportunity to represent Carriacou and Pitimatnik.
And you know, that leads to my next question to you, sir. You know, if the mandate is given by the people to you, sir, what would that be, that top three, of course, things you would like to accomplish? Let's say within your first term.
Oh, that's maybe a top five.
I will settle for the top three for the time being.
I'm a kind of worker. I'm a hard worker, and people who know me know that I'm a result-oriented person. So three things is a little bit, you know, but at the same time, I would say, GT, when given that opportunity to represent Carriacou and Pitimatnik, one of the first things which I already spoke publicly about, based on the needs of persons' needs, based on feedback from constituents, I would want to see, and I feel confident that I can achieve that, to establish a school for special needs. I think there is a significant need for that now, right here now. There is a need for that because we have our young mothers who have those kids who have special needs, and they are challenged. They are home. They can't move. They can't get a job. Sometimes it's also frustrating for them. And that not just the school, but also some of the parents I notice they do need some special support in terms of counseling to be able to deal with this, because it's not easy, GT. I mean, I've experienced this, and I'm telling you, it's not easy as a parent. And so I think the time has come. The time is now for us to establish an institution here to support our community, both Carriacou and Petit-Martinique, for parents and kids with special needs. So that's one. And the second one, I think, I mean, it's clear. I would definitely, in terms of having Carriacou restore the housing in all the communities, fully restored and back to some sense of comfort. I think that is something that I would definitely be top on the agenda, because it is a burning issue and probably one of the most challenging issues for our people right now. You know, we are prideful people, and not being able to have a home, or your home that you work hard and you spend years earning money to build this home, just wiped away in a couple of hours. I mean, it's tough for people. And so that is one of the things I would definitely want to see restore. The third one, it would be between, I would say, basically, I would really want to see, and I think we could achieve that, 100% pipe-borne water throughout Carriacou. We have already achieved that in Petit-Martinique under the new National Party government, and under my stewardship as well, as the one who was leading that project, or the one who developed that project to start with. Yeah, it is. So I think that, I can 100% water to just resolve that water situation in Carriacou once or all, finally, with a combination of initiatives to deal with the water situation in Carriacou in a complete way. I think that those probably my top three.
All right.
Yeah.
What would you say directly to voters who are still fenced for various reasons? And why should they put their confidence in you? There are voters who probably still in that fence, still have that blocked off for some reason or the other. Why should they put their confidence in you? What would you say to those voters?
Well, GT, I would say this. You know, voting is about the future. Yeah, voting is about the future, and I know for a fact that Norland Cox, as your candidate, will secure a better future for you as that voter who is on that fence, and for a number of reasons. I have a history of being committed to people. I have a history of result, being successful in terms of working with people and getting things done for people. I have a critical knowledge in terms of understanding uniqueness of Carriacou's needs. What are the needs of Carriacou, and getting those done. I have demonstrated that. I've been a member of parliament since 2014. So in terms of experience and having a knowledge of the workings of government and the intricacies, I think that I fully represent that. And of course, I have a deep love for people. And I mean, I think that in itself underscores everything. Persons can have certain skill set and attribute, but if persons do not in any way have that level of compassion for people and understand why you are doing this, is not something that you should even talk about. It's something that should be seen and demonstrated. And so I have always been that person. So my life is an open book in that respect. I've worked in Carriacou, I've served for decades. And so I believe that I am. I know that I am the best person to really take care of Quampidimatic future to the next level. Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
I know that perfect.
All right. My final question to you before we give that opportunity to, of course, our viewers and listeners this morning. Now, is there anything that the people of the constituency within Carriacou and PT Martinique has been asking for, and you want to address it publicly right now? Talk to me in reference to that, sir. I hope I'm asking that correct, and I'm asking you that directly. Okay, there's always things that folks will speak to you about within the various constituencies, and
there are a number of issues. JT and I spoke about some of them with the housing and how persons are treated unfairly, but there is one issue that has recently surfaced, and I really want to. I was tempted to speak about it previously, but I just wanted to ensure that what I was hearing was actually what is going to happen. And so that has to do with the Tongue of Hillsborough, GT. There was some proposal put forward on social media, spoken about enhancing the Tongue of Hillsborough, that some of the buildings would have been damaged. Now, there's a particular area, a core area right in Hillsborough, where it had some small businesses, some small shops, various shops, either selling liquor, food shop, and other things right in Hillsborough. I was informed that there is a government intention, I think that is also indicated by government, to acquire those lands, including the Regatta Jupa. The GTA, that area right in front, Main Street there, to acquire those lands to construct. I think some concept was placed on social media for some mall. Now, this is creating some challenge for those property owners. And let me explain it, and let me explain it in the context of what is really happening and why I'm raising this. Now, GD, there is nothing wrong with enhancing or improving the tongue. There is nothing wrong with that. Yeah? And I'm fully support of modernizing and improving wherever necessary. I'm in full support of that. Now, what is happening, I don't know if the government has what conversation that they had or have with the landowners or the persons who are occupying those lands. I don't know to the extent of the conversation. But what I'm hearing, that the intention is that those lands are going to be acquired. Persons are going to be paid for whatever the land value. And those lots are going to be developed into some mall, and the booths are going to be rented out. So the question is, I don't know if government is now going to be involved in real estate. I don't know what is the plan. I don't know if government is partnering with business people to develop this area, to build this mall. But where the challenge lies and what is the real issue is centered around those persons who are occupying those lots. Now, I know for two people in particular who spoke to me, two owners, they are saying that whatever business they used to transact, that is the only source of income. That is the only livelihood. Now, you are going to take that away, and they are going to get a one-off money, and they're now asking, what am I going to do? Where am I going to set up shop? So they are aggrieved. They are significantly aggrieved, GT. I mean, I just want you to put yourself in those persons' position. And I think that there is a serious need for conversation to be had with those persons and to clearly come up with a better policy to ensure that persons' livelihood are not taken away. There is nothing wrong with enhancing the tongue. There is nothing wrong with modernizing. But you have to find a way so that persons' livelihood are sustained. Now, if you're going to take that away from persons and give it to some investor or somebody who can afford to build up the place and rent the shop afterwards, I don't think that is fair. I don't think that is fair. And persons are hurting. They're hurting. They're feeling very powerless because the government have the authority, the law to acquire and to pay you for it. And so persons, they're not happy about that. I see that there is a possibility for the place to be renovated and for persons who already occupying it to get first priority to get their shops back. whatever the arrangement, how it's going to be done, how they're going to be paying for it, that is something that can be worked out. But for them to be displaced entirely, or maybe the monies that you're going to be paying for the land, you put those monies back into the building or something of the sort. But right now, persons are feeling extremely hopeless, powerless, and they feel aggrieved. I can tell you that. And so it's something that I raise now. I'm going to speak further on it because I noticed that government has started to do demolish work. So it seems like everything is in motion. But this is not a pleasant thing for the current landholders because they believe and they feel that their livelihoods are going to be their only source of income. In some cases, a shop where somebody selling the drinks and food is going to be taken away from them and presumably given to someone else. That is the feeling.
Okay. Well, I certainly hope we hear more on this. If this particular story in coming up in a couple of weeks, we hear certainly more from that,
sure.
Probably from you also.
Yeah.
We do have a couple more minutes left on the program. I'm, of course, going to give it the opportunity to our listeners and viewers. They are sure there may be questions individuals may like to ask you. Let's go to the phone line. We do have our first caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Telesford. Greetings and good morning to Mr. Cox. Tell me, can Mr. Cox confirm that he can hear me well?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yes, he can hear you. Go right ahead, please.
Very well, great. Well, welcome, Mr. Cox. Listen, Mr. Cox, couple of things you spoke of in your intervention there. One of the things you raised about the state of people with special needs. In other words, these people are covered under the United Nations Convention on the Rights of quote-unquote persons with disabilities as established in the law. But nothing has been done about these people since 2008 when this convention was set up for immediate implementation. No, I'm not reclaiming that it did not happen then. But are you prepared, Mr. Cox, if you were to hold political office again, that you shall take the necessary measures to guarantee that the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is adhered to? Are you prepared to put your neck on the block for that? But additionally to that, I'd like to ask Mr. Cox, there's the issue related to housing. No, I better not go there. Oh, yes, let's do it one time. In 2005, 2006, thereabout, after the destruction of the hurricanes, the government of Venezuela, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, gifted the government of Grenada some houses for the needy people, for the people who needed houses, etc. For 16 years, Mr. Cox, none of the previous administration, again, I'm not classing, it simply mean that the government of Grenada over these 16 years refused to give the titles to the properties to the people. In recent time, this new administration is now claiming payment for the land to get titles to the property. This is injustice. As a matter of fact, to me, it's qualified as institutionalized extortion. What will you and the government that you, or the party or the administration that you seeking to take over in this country do to correct this injustice, Mr. Cox? So there's something else that I wanted to talk about, Karen. I don't want to load you up too much, but I do trust my two questions have been understood for what it's worth. You have a nice day, will you, sir?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Respond to the caller, Senator Cox?
Thank you very much to the caller for those questions. And of course, regarding the first question, regarding the UN Convention on persons with disabilities and special needs, GT, as I indicated, is something that is I'm passionate about. It's something that I have family members who are impacted by that, so I understand it. I have friends who are impacted by that. I had an opportunity to be part of a discussion and gathering with parents who were experiencing that. So I am intimately aware of the challenges with that. And once given an opportunity, I'll do everything within my power to ensure that those persons duly receive whatever services and support that is due to them. And that is something I stand by, irrespective of whatever personally or politically, whatever person's it doesn't matter. That is something beyond, that transcends politics, GT, and that is people. We're talking about people's needs, and that transcends politics, and that is something that I stand by. That is who I am, and that is always what I've done. Yeah, in my life, I help wherever those help are needed. So that is clear. That is simple and straightforward. As regards to the second question regarding the whole issue of land tenure has been somewhat complicated, especially in the housing schemes. Over the years, successive governments have had challenges with persons in terms of how those tenures are going to be resolved. But what has happened in recent time, in comparison to then, is that government have not really, previous NP government have not been stringent in terms of defining those parameters, in terms of saying, look, you need to pay for your land, otherwise you can't occupy it. Maybe it may have been a shortcoming on our part in terms of allowing persons to go there and build. I think it was more from a compassion standpoint in terms of getting persons settled, getting them in a home, and more than actually having a title or having a title sorted out, and believe that those things can be done on the back end. But sometimes those things can create challenges. However, this government has taken a different policy, and we have seen that even with the recently built homes that were done by the People's Republic of China and donated to this country, that the policy had shifted away from the income level strata for persons who can access those homes. So I think it's more of a matter of the philosophy of the government of the day, hence the reason why persons are now being asked to hands up, come up with the monies. And it's possible that also that the government might be challenged in terms of income, and that might be another source to raise revenue as well. So I think it's just basically it's an issue of policy and philosophy, how both parties or both governments would have approached persons and low-income homeowners.
Okay, we do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp, you're live. Good morning, welcome. Let's hear from you.
Good morning, GT.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning, my good friend, Mr. Cox.
Morning.
Mr. Cox, good morning.
Pleasant morning. I trust that you're well.
Okay. All right, okay, Mr. Cox. I'm going to be very brief. Mr. Cox, you mentioned a couple of things. Mr. Cox, I've been speaking to people from Carriacou. I speak to businessmen, I speak to locals, even a lot of them from the diaspora who have business. And they said to me, Mr. Cox, that this is the only time Carriacou been getting their fair share. As a matter of fact, they said 2 times. It was during the revolution, and they said presently with this administration, with Tevin as your MP. Mr. Cox, what you think is different now than under the time of Mr. Nimrod and Kinger? Do you see any improvement based on what the businessmen tell me and the locals tell me? My second question to you, Mr. Cox, you mentioned about $40 million and you can't get the account of it. Mr. Cox, do you remember $229,000 was spent on a billboard while the jetty in Wynn was in a dilapidated state? Do you think that almost $250,000 should have spent on the jetty?
Thank you, Colin.
Another thing you mentioned, that's the last question. Another thing you mentioned about the contract, Mr. Cox. Wasn't Skylark was the one getting 99.9% of the contract in Carriacou, and I never hear you talk about that. Do you think they should have an investigation into the billboard to know where that money go? Because up to now we can't find a billboard. The billboard in Petit Martinique, you know what I'm talking about. Have a great day, Mr. Cox.
Okay.
Thank you, caller.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, caller. Let me start with the last one first. All right, so let me correct the caller. From what I know, it was not a billboard that was procured for Petit Martinique. It was a signage. GT, I mean, if you could recall, you know that there's a sign, the tourism authority put a sign right by the tourist boat with the Grenada, yeah? That colorful sign. GT, right? You know that sign, right?
Yes, I do. I was distracted there a wee bit. My apology for that.
Okay, good. Yes. So that sign is something similar to what was done in Pitty-Matic, but that one mark Pitty-Matic, I love you, I love Pitty-Matic, or something like that. I with a heart, I love Pitty-Matic. So that was the sign that was procured, and whatever monies that was budgeted, from what I understand, it was not just for procuring, but it was also for installing. So I think they had to do some concrete base and install some lights and some other stuff. So it wasn't a billboard, it was a signage, so that in coming into Pitty-Matic, you see this lighted sign saying, I love Pitty-Matic. That is what was done. So whether or not the money should have been used for that or for the jetties, that you can throw it up in the air. Yes, it could have gone to the jetty, it could have gone to anything else. But I believe in consultation with the rep at the time, in consultation with the people of Pitty-Matic, she made a decision to do that. So I can't question that, yeah, because I don't have the information as regards to that. So that is what was done. I don't know how much the Tourism Authority paid for the one for Grenada. It probably should be less because it's less words, because they charge on words. The second thing was the issue of, was it contract duty?
Something of the monies spent for the 40 million or something of the sort. I got a little bit distracted there a wee bit, so it slipped me also.
Yeah, but...
Well,
yeah,
we probably could move on if you, of course, if you slip
no,
a bit.
I just want to be fair to the caller, just to respond quickly. I think you mentioned something about Skylark and contracts, about 90%. I don't have evidence that Skylark got 90% of the contracts, because I know for a fact that there are other contractors doing work in Caracas, so that is not entirely true. I know that for a fact. So that is something that it could be easily verified. Yeah.
Okay.
There was something about in conversation with people that.
Yeah, he was saying that, of course, things are in conversation with business owners in Caracas and Pitty-Matic right now.
That Caracas, this is the first time receiving this fair share. And I would say that is entirely untrue. Under the stewardship of Elvin G. Nimrod, who has never lost the seat, Caracas would have received the most in fire trucks, vehicles, ambulances, new roads, more roads than ever, schools, the TAM CC, the mini stadium, airport upgrades, the new port interior. I mean, it's numerous to mention. So there is no comparison, and for obvious reasons. Is one term against successive terms, and so I don't think it is fair to somebody who just do one term to compare, unless it's a particular thing that they want to narrow down on. But I would say that, it's clear that Elvin G. Nimrod would have made probably the most significant contribution in terms of development, infrastructure, otherwise for Caracas, the resource center. You name it. So, yeah, we can move on.
We do have another caller via the direct line. Good morning, you're live. Go right ahead, please.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Go right ahead, please.
Good morning to Mr. Cox. Mr. Cox, do you want to ask you this question? If you really appreciate the young people of this country in education, especially such like the nurses and them, I would like to know if you and your government really appreciate these young people and what the government of this day did for the young people of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for being very brief also. Caller, that was my final caller for the morning.
Yes. Yeah, I want to thank the caller. Any initiative of any government to support, or any individual or institution to support young people development, I don't see why anyone would be against it. And so we have always supported young people. We have demonstrated that in terms of the money program, the fly program, the empower program. Our actions, our philosophies is always around supporting persons. It's clear that there's a stark difference in the philosophy of how we engage people and the engaging young people in comparison to your national party and the NDC. So I have never speaking against that. It's something that I always encourage people, and people who know me, I know there are persons who would call me, who's currently engaged in studies, and would call for direction or guidance in terms of scholarship support, in terms of finances and support. And I would always help them. I've never asked them where they're voting, who they're voting for, who they plan to vote for. I've never. I've just always given that proper response in terms of helping them wherever they need it.
Okay.
So thank you very much for that call.
All right. I did say there was a final caller, but I did have one caller engaged, so I will, of course, give them the opportunity to, and that will be my final for the morning. Caller, you're alive. Sure. Good morning.
Good morning, JT. How are you going?
Doing good. I beg of you to be brief,
quickly.
Please.
Mr. Cox, when I look at all the pictures and so coming up from Carriacou, Kevin has done a remarkable and outstanding job, because you continue to have carnival shows, carnival activities, lobster festival, maroon festival, all the Saraka, all the festivities that is associated with Carriacou. Is back, and Carriacou is going back to normal. I find it's coming on beautiful, and despite whatever shortcomings that Kevin Andrews, I think he's great. He's a leader, and he's doing good for Carriacou, because Carriacou is bouncing back nicely. Everything seems to be in place. All those festivals that had before. Look at what you had. Look at the lobster and what I call it festival that attract people from overseas. It was a bumper success. So Carriacou is doing very good, and I'm proud of Kevin Andrews. So give kudos where credit is due.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was our final caller for the morning.
Yeah, I just want to say, GT, looking at pictures on social media and living in Carriacou is two different things. Yeah? And so the live experience is one that is actually different. And yes, some of our festivals are happening, and it's not solely as a result of government. Festivals are driven by people. They're driven by community. They're driven by our traditions. Everybody come out. We on Friday at Brunswick Maroon, and that's one of the things that I love about Carriacou. Everybody's there. It was not a political get-together, so I wouldn't take credit for a festival happening where everybody come out based on traditions. I wouldn't do that. Yes, government have a responsibility to provide the necessary support wherever it's needed, but what you want to do is to encourage and to ensure that communities come out and ensure that those festivals thrive. And so that is, whatever is happening is because people are actually coming out and participating. That is what is happening, because of the love for it. Right. Yeah, some of those persons don't have a roof over their head. Yeah, just to let you know.
Senator Cox, I want to thank you once again for being on the program this morning. It's always a pleasure of communicating with you on the program, letting us know what's happening inside of Carriacou from an opposition point of view. I want to thank you once again, sir, and best wishes for the rest of the day.
You're welcome, GT, and it's a pleasure. And I want to always thank the callers for calling to also just to make it interactive so we can share our different views. This is what this is about. This is the only how we can grow as a people, to ensure that we communicate in a respectable and meaningful way. So thank you, GT, and do have a pleasant day yourself.
You too, sir. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
All right.
Hey, folks, as we're going to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point, I want to thank all who contributed. I want to thank Senator Cox once again. Say thanks to the folks of inside of course, Carriacou and PT Martinique. Those who are listening and viewing over there, thank you so much. Until we have another edition of To The Point for you, that's why I say goodbye for today.